Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini. Hope all of you are trying to beat the heat as best as you can today, at least if you are living here in Western Pennsylvania. It is an absolute sauna outside, humidity and heat like crazy, but hope you all are able to cool down. And before we heat up talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates and how bad they were this weekend, we're going to talk some other things as well. Try to, cool down, take it easy here today. We'll get worked up about the Bucks here in a minute, but also we'll talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins, them possibly, in fact, not possibly, most likely moving out a handful of their good players here very, very soon, I feel. Also talk about what their plans are for the NHL draft, which is coming up this Friday evening. And we will get into so much more, including a little bit of news about the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you are new here, first thing is first, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Also, feel free to like and share this video and comment any thoughts, opinions, or questions that you may have in the comment section below. I enjoy interacting with you fine folks that way. Going to get started here, like I said, in a minute. The Penguins, they have a lot of news going on. Big insiders, both nationally and local, are talking about possible big trades that they are going to make here in the not too distant future, I feel, including selling off some of their bigger names: Erik Karlsson, Rickard Rakell, Brian Rust. Those three names have been mentioned the most. We're going to get started here in a minute with the Bucks. Let me pop up the banner right here. Here it is. So right there, you see it, plain and simple. The Bucks, they continue to suck. They are just stuck in the basement of the MLB, and they really show no signs of getting out of there anytime soon. Real quick, just going to go over what all happened this weekend. They played a 3-game series against the Texas Rangers. They came in to PNC Park for a 3-game set this weekend. Game 1 of the series started off fantastic. First inning, Oneil Cruz has a center lined right back up the middle to him in center field. He lets it go past him, doesn't even bother to chase after it either. Just an all-out brain gaff by him. That made it 1-0 for the Texas Rangers. They also had a runner on third after that with nobody out. That run came in to score. So 2-0 Rangers right off the bat. Adolis Garcia, their power bat right fielder, he made it 3-0 Bucks. Then they finally started to wake up a little bit. At that point, Jacob deGrom, their ace, went 3 complete innings of perfect baseball. Actually went the first 11 batters of the game without allowing a hit. Then 2 out thunder by the Bucks. Nick Gonzalez, Spencer Horwitz, Joey Bart, they all get singles. They gets a run across there. Good 10-pitch walk from Jared Triolo as well. Then Adam Frazier hit a single that made it 3-2. Rangers, they didn't let anything else happen beyond that. They made it 4-2. Corey Seager hit a solo home run. Adolis Garcia almost hitting another home run. That drove in another run in that play as well. Alexander Canario, who was in left field with Oneil Cruz, he falls down. Just a complete circus out there in the outfield. Rangers got another run after that as well. 6-2 was the final in that game. Game 2 on Saturday afternoon, 4:05 start there. Brian Reynolds returned to the team after being on the paternity list, welcoming his third child to the world. Billy Cook, who was with the team for a handful of games, he got sent back down to AAA Indianapolis. Also, left-handed pitcher Ryan Borucki was put on the 15-day IL, and Hunter Stratton was brought back up from Indianapolis. Game started off for the Bucks. Andrew McCutchen, he passed Joe DiMaggio for 185th on the all-time hits list with 2,215. So Kutch, he keeps climbing that list there of passing some great names on the all-time hit list. Willie Stargell coming up here in the not-too-distant future for Andrew McCutchen. Rangers, again, took the lead early in this one, 1-0. A liner out to left field. Adam Frazier was there. He, just like Oneil Cruz the game before, let the ball go right under his glove and go all the way damn near to the wall. So a run came across then. Oneil Cruz tied it up in the bottom, or about an inning later. That brought home Henry Davis on a sacrifice fly, sacrificing an out for a run, a Pittsburgh Pirates specialty this year. Rangers made it 2-1. They actually, got a run without the Bucks just having a mental error on the field. Corey Seager with the RBI single there. 3-1 then. Marcus Semien, he got home another run on a sacrifice fly. Bucks did claw back closer again. 3-2 Henry Davis with another give it out for a run, hitting into a fielder's choice. Key Brian Hayes was up to bat after him. Couldn't do anything with runners on base. Typical there. That was the final in that game. 3-2. Mitch Keller, now 1-10 on the season. He pitched in that game, gave up all 3 of those runs. Now 1-10 on the year. The worst record to start the year for a Pirates pitcher since 2010. Ross Ohlendorf back then was 1-11. Shout out Jason Shetler for that stat there. Also, Mitch Keller, Since August 20th, 2024, he has now lost 15 of his last 16 decisions. So 1-16 since last year. And just, he can't get a win to save his life, honestly. I know wins and losses, they're not a starting pitcher stat. They're not, most credited with that, as, most people think. So Mitch Keller, he's been pitching fine. He'll have a couple, bad starts here and there, but he can't get a win to save his life. And I hope that if the Bucks are looking to possibly trade him at this deadline, that teams look at, Keller, look at, his other stat lines other than what the win-loss columns look like. Then we move ahead to Sunday. Yesterday, after looking completely and totally lifeless for the first two games of this series, the Bucks, they tend to then have a bit of a blow up offensively and look like a competent team. Once every, I don't know, 4, 5, maybe 6 games, they'll look like a world beater of a team with the bats. That's what Sunday was. Of course, they did have to go down, make it tough on themselves. The Rangers, they went up 1-0, and then they went 2-0 up as well. And then 5th inning, the Bucks finally did something. They put up 5 runs in that inning. They did have the game tied up 2-2 at that point, and then 5 runs came across in the inning. Nick Gonzalez, he had an opposite field single that brought in a run. Spencer Horwitz, he had a bases clearing double that brought in 2 more runs to make it 5-2. And more after that. Eventually, it was 7-2 after that inning. The Rangers, they did get another one, 7-3. Then Tommy Pham, who was actually 3 for 3 yesterday, barreled up a ball, and that was an RBI double, made it 8-3. So, and then Andrew McCutchen, I guess he officially passed Joe DiMaggio later in that ball game, getting hit 2,216. He tied DiMaggio the night before, so he broke the 100. He officially sits alone now at 185th all time. That was the final score. 5-run, 5th inning, 8-3 was the final. But let's not get it twisted. This team still absolutely unbearable to watch, and they're a disgrace, honestly. And after what I'm about to tell you, what the general manager said, you will understand why. First off, just a couple of stats here. The Pirates now this year in 36 games, or 35 games, they have scored 2 or fewer runs. That is 45% of their games this year. They aren't even breaking 2 runs. They are 7-28 in those games. Shout out Dan Zangrilli from 93.7 The Fan for putting that stat out there. Also, the Bucks, they are now currently the only team in the NL Central that does not have a winning record. The Chicago Cubs, 46-30. The Milwaukee Brewers and St. Louis Cardinals at 42-35. The Cincinnati Reds, who, honestly, the Bucks should have made moves exactly like them this offseason. They brought in Gavin Lux. They brought in Austin Hayes, their left fielder, who's hitting the cover off the ball, having a career year. The Bucks should have fired Derek Shelton, could have hired Tito Francona. Now, I like Donnie Kelly, but still, though, a former World Series appearing manager with a hell of a resume. Terry Francona is there. Also, Pittsburgh guy, should have brought him in. Instead, he's got the Reds playing above 500 baseball, and you would, want to hope and pray that the Bucks would be close to that right now, but they're not. 30-48, dead last in the division, 17 games out of first place in the division, and they are on pace for another 100-loss season. They're at least flirting with it. That would be their third 100-loss season in the last 6 years. And before that, the Bucks, they had 100-loss seasons only 3 times from 1955 to 2020. So this is a historically bad team right now. They are going to pretty much break any and all bad records that this franchise has set before. And the thing that makes it so like you just want to punch a hole through the wall, Ben Cherington has his little radio show every Sunday on 93.7 The Fan. Sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't, because, when the team's doing bad, or, there's an obvious decision that needs to be made, but we all know that he won't. He'll skip out, have one of his little, minions, understudies go do the radio show for him. So he finally decided to show up this Sunday, and he had the audacity to go on 93.7 The Fan and say the following things. Quoting General Manager Ben Cherington, word for word right here. I do believe there's a foundation here that gives us a chance to win sooner rather than later. There's also the results. It might be tweaks. It might be more than tweaks to get us faster towards where we want to be. We've got to deliver more. Bottom line, we know that this is the time of year where opportunities present themselves. As much as we believe in the group, we also need to be honest about where we are. First, I do believe there's a foundation here that gives us a chance to win sooner rather than later. Do I need to put on some sort of special sunglasses to see whatever the hell that foundation is? Two people, well, one for sure you can say, Paul Skeens. One man does not make a foundation. It's a hell of a start. Greatest pitcher in baseball, one of the best pitching phenoms that the game of baseball has seen in decades. Excuse me. That's one guy. Other than that, where's the rest of the foundation? Maybe O'Neal Cruz, if, he can get back to absolutely destroying the baseball and get his head out of his ass that's been up there for the past, 2 weeks. Other than that, where's the foundation? Just going along here, Mitch Keller, getting older, probably going to get traded. Jared Jones on the shelf for this year and probably most of next year. Bailey Falter, trade rumors are circulating around him. Bubba Chandler, still down in the farm. Don't know if he's going to be a solidified piece of your foundation for the next, 5 years. Looking at the bullpen, no one there long term. Maybe Dennis Santana. By the way, more on him coming up here shortly. Looking at the players, Henry Davis, unproven. At least, hopefully he can still get some sort of a runway with Joey Bart back. By the way, Joey Bart taking a step back from what he was last year. Endy Rodriguez, always hurt. Looking around the diamond here, Spencer Horwitz, chronic wrist issue guy that you brought in, Ben, that you knew that he had that injury. He just joined the team. He's looking to be average at best. And being average, it's starting to become few and far between with him. Nick Gonzalez, maybe you have something there, but, right now we're looking at his ceiling not too far above average. Is hitting pretty well, though, I will say that. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, he might as well be as good as gone. I'm seeing stuff every day now from MLB insiders, Bob Nightingale and John Heyman, that IKF is generating interest from teams like the Yankees and the Giants. With the way he's hitting, he could fetch a pretty penny. Looking over here, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Ke'Bryan Hayes just flat out sucks anymore. I love the guy. This is actually a Ke'Bryan Hayes jersey hanging on the back of this chair right now. But let's be honest, zero pop, and his defense still pretty great. Still maybe even Gold Glove caliber from time to time. But his absolute inexistence, we'll call it, with the bat, that is nowhere near worth keeping him on the team anymore, especially at the price tag you're paying him. If you can move him off just to get his salary off the books, just do it at this point. Rip the Band-Aid off. Looking at the outfield, left field, Tommy Pham. Oh, that's hilarious. Jack Sawinski also might be out there at some time. He's, washed at this point. Center field, O'Neal Cruz. Who the hell knows? And then looking at right field, Brian Reynolds. You don't know how longer he's going to be here or how long he's even going to be out in right field. I have a feeling once Andrew McCutchen, which, by the way, 39-year-old Andrew McCutchen, still the best hitter on the team by far. Crazy that you're hearing that. Probably not, actually. You don't know how long Brian Reynolds is going to be left out there in right field. He said he wants to move into first base, but most likely he'll just resort to a designated hitter role once Andrew McCutchen finally retires. So beyond that, one concrete guy, Paul Skeens, in my opinion, is the foundation of this team. And Ben Cherington says, I do believe there's a foundation there that gives us a chance to win sooner rather than later, unless you can clone Paul Skeens and also clone an extra one to put him back behind the plate because Skeens was a catcher in college and he could hit, at least half decent, probably would hit better than half the guys on this team. You're not going to get anywhere winning anytime soon. Also, this is the time of year where opportunities present themselves. What the hell are you even talking about? What opportunities are there? Opportunities to suck more? Opportunities to maybe finish, I don't know, 10 games out of first place in the division instead of 17 where you're currently at, on your well way to going like into the 20s? Oppor- I can't make any sense of what he says anymore. He could be a hell of a politician. I'm going to stand up here and I am going to say absolutely nothing for 20 minutes while saying a whole lot. I'm just going to talk, 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 and give you nothing of substance. No meat on the bone whatsoever. Absolutely terrible freaking GM who's completely delusional, can't do anything. Also, you talk about the foundation. It's not like he hasn't kept around any members of who could possibly be a foundation. Just looking back now at some of his recent trades, Quinn Priester, he got traded to Boston for Nick York, who's, barely doing average in AAA, at least last I checked. At the time, he was a promising prospect, but now he seems to be getting pirate fever for batters, which is, hey, you come here and you're automatically suck with the bat. Quinn Priester gets traded to Boston. Then he somehow ends up with your division rival Milwaukee Brewers, who are up near the top of the division. And now, over his last 7 starts, Quinn Priester 4-1 with a 2.29 ERA and an 0.94 WHIP. Also, you want to go back talking about your court? We talked about Spencer Horwitz, and now he's going to be average at best. Who did you send back in that trade? 2 prospects and Luis Ortiz. Ortiz, in his last game, 6 innings pitched, only gave up 2 hits, walked 2, struck out 10, now has a 4.30 ERA on the season, which, hey, had to adjust to a new place, but still, if that's a sign of things to come for him, he's figured it out. He's going to get better after having a good year last year with the Bucks. I can't with this team. I can't with this GM anymore, more specifically. The team, for a stretch there, when Donnie Kelly came in as manager, looked to be at least watchable. But now it's clear after a month and a half that Donnie Kelly's been on the job now, this team, personnel-wise, player-wise, nowhere close to being good. And that falls back on the general manager 100%. Well, falls back on him 80%. We'll put the other 20 on Bob Nutting because he's too cheap. Which, that's not going to change either. But Ben Cherington's got to go. He cannot. At this point, he's going to run another draft in which, you hope that he doesn't do anything too stupid, passing up, a good player. Then I keep seeing conflicted things on what the Bucks are going to do in the draft here coming up in a month and change. I keep seeing, they should go out and get a college bat, someone who maybe goes to AA or AAA right away, and then they can be up with the Bucks to try to help them win next year. But watch, he'll take like some sort of freaking prospect, shortstop, infielder from high school who isn't going to see the majors till I'm freaking married and have kids, which is a long ass way from now. So keep going there, Ben. You're doing a great job. He needs fired. He's going to run the draft, but please do not let him do the trade deadline because IKF having a good year. His name is probably going to be very highly coveted here when the trade deadline comes around. That isn't, he'll probably get 2 prospects. One of them will be like the 29th ranked prospect out of the top 30 in an organization and then a lottery ticket. He'll ship off Mitch Keller for, another prospect bat like Nick York. That will never amount to anything with this organization because their hitting philosophy is absolutely horrible. And then who knows what else. Just sick of it. We'll see what all happens tonight. Bucks are beginning a new series with the Milwaukee Brewers. At least we'll have something to look forward to on Wednesday. Paul Skeens, he'll be pitching against, I think, Jacob Misiorowski, one of former top prospect for the Brewers, who's off to a hell of a start. But Looking ahead to tonight, series starts tonight. Braxton Ashcraft, who has been in the bullpen since getting his first-time call-up from AAA Indianapolis, he will start tonight. The Bucks are giving an extra day off for Andrew Heaney and Paul Skeens and everybody in the rotation after the doubleheader they played on Thursday last week. So Braxton Ashcraft, he's on the bump tonight to start this one. Probably going to be a bullpen game, but I would like to see him, go 4 innings. If he's pitching well, let him go. I've been impressed with him so far in his time in the big leagues. Oneil Cruz will lead off tonight in center field. Andrew McCutchen DH. Brian Reynolds in right field batting third. Nick Gonzalez, again, is the cleanup man. Good position for him in the lineup, in my opinion. He's come a long way with the bat and just his approach at the plate. He'll be at second base. Joey Bart catches. Spencer Horwitz at first base batting sixth. Key Brian Hayes at third base batting seventh. Tommy Pham, more on him near the back end of today's live stream. He plays in left and bats eighth. And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, the ever famous Isaiah Kiner-Falefa around the league for trade talks, bats ninth and at shortstop. First pitch for tonight's game is at 7:40 up in Milwaukee. Should be a fun one to watch then. Interested to hear what you guys think on the Bucks. Let's go to the comment section real quick. Craig Werlow, welcome, Craig. Out of the 3 teams who will be the first to win playoffs, Pirates, Steelers, or Pens, I know exactly what tweet you are talking about there, Craig. I think it was someone from 93.7 The Fan posted that poll today. Out of those 3 teams, probably, a little crazy to say, but also not that crazy at all. Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't say that, win a championship. It says to win in the playoffs. So, hell, that could even happen this year. You bring in Aaron Rodgers. He's, I think going to give it his all in his last year in the NFL. Also, I think is an upgrade over Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and pretty much any quarterback that the Steelers have had since Big Ben retired. So I think that they could win a playoff game this year. Now, some things would have to go their way. Maybe, you get the top wild card seed and you play a weak team, maybe a team from the AFC South, like the Houston Texans, if they have another, average season, or maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they can win that division. So I'm going to go with the Steelers just because the Pens, they're blatantly in a rebuild. We're going to talk about them next and what all they're thinking of doing trade-wise and in the draft here on Friday. And the Pirates, they're the Pirates. I'm not going to believe that they're going to win a playoff game. Hell, they might not even make playoffs. Certainly while Ben Cherington is the general manager, and most likely while Bob Nutting is still the owner of this team, which could go on for years. Who the hell knows? He's not going to sell the team anytime soon, even though he should, because we talked about on Friday, the LA Dodgers owner, he's buying the LA Lakers, and the Tampa Bay Rays, they just sold for, I think, $1.5 billion, 1.7, I think was the exact number. Makes you wonder what the Pirates, with the best pitcher in baseball, Paul Skeens, and great ballpark, the best ballpark in baseball, makes you wonder, what a price tag on them could be. Could be, 1.7 at least. Could maybe reach around $2 billion. But, hey, not gonna get my hopes up for either of those 3 teams right now. But the Steelers do believe that they are in the best position, best definitely roster-wise, to win in the playoffs ahead of both the Pirates and Pens. As a matter of fact, I'm tempted to actually, go ahead and say the Steelers, they might win 2 playoff games before the Pirates make the playoffs again and before the Pens win a playoff series. So that's my take on that. Thank you, Craig, for commenting. I appreciate it very, very much. I did say we are going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let me get this. Let me get this banner popped up here. Going to talk about the Pens and some trades that could be coming for them here. Let me find out where I had everything on it. Anyways, talking about the Pens and what they're going through off the ice right now, some moves that are being made. I have seen a bunch of the same thing from both national insiders and local beat reporters who are covering the team. And that is that the Penguins, they are going to be selling and selling and selling some more. And honestly, they could get a hell of a return. First, from the 32 Thoughts podcast with basically hockey's Adam Schefter, the best insider for hockey, Elliot Friedman. He, in one of his more recent 32 Thoughts podcasts, he says that the Penguins, they are going full rebuild and that they are going to be the top team to look at in terms of selling off assets at good, if not great, prices. What his thoughts on the Penguins were. This from his podcast itself here. Pittsburgh is the NHL's salmon swimming against the stream. The Penguins entered the big rebuild. Everyone else in the league is trying to get better. You're going to see some situations where teams who may not need to do anything see offers for their players get better and better due to limited supply and so much demand. Friedman talking about this year's free agent class. It is not the worst, but it's also not the best. You think Mitch Marner, he's the golden goose of this year's free agency class, and then you're looking at some other guys, below him. Sam Bennett, probably going to stay in Florida. Brad Marchand, he's going to get a big bag somewhere. Aaron Ekblad also from the Panthers. Other than that, not too many names come to mind, big names that are going to be on the move this, free agency cycle. That means that trades are going to be more and signings are going to be less. And the Penguins, who Friedman specifically said there that the Penguins, they are one of few teams. As a matter of fact, they said that the Penguins are pretty much the only team, looking to sell players and get worse while everyone else in the league is trying to get better. They are going to be selling a handful of guys at exorbitant prices, more than what you probably could have gotten for these guys at the trade deadline last year, which it was a big seller's market then as well. So that's interesting there. Elliot Friedman saying that the Pens, they're going for rebuild, and that with the shallow free agency market, they could get good prices on them. Same thing came from the Fourth Period podcast and David Pagnotta, another NHL insider. He says Penguins are clear front runners in the seller's market. Kyle Dubas, he is expected to be active in the next month or so, and that guys like Erik Karlsson, Raquel, Brian Rust, Ryan Graves, they are, quote, all up for grabs. Also, Brian Rust, we stated this, I think, on Friday, his no movement clause in his contract, that officially expires here in 7 days when July begins. Also, this here from Josh Yohe, now looking at a local reporter's point of view. He covers the Pens exclusively for The Athletic. He also is saying that Kyle Dubas is looking to maybe sell off some of these guys, but the prices are high. Karlsson is available. Kyle Dubas is fine keeping Karlsson if nothing, comes to fruition. So EK65, if he's gone, great. You get some money off the books. Maybe you retain a little bit, but you can also get something pretty decent back for him. If you end up keeping him, fine. I think he likes it here in Pittsburgh, but the investment that you put in on getting him from San Jose so many years ago, that hasn't paid off yet. So Karlsson, he's a wild card there. Could most likely, I'm leaning towards he's gone, but if he ends up staying, Dubas and the Penguins, they'll be okay with it. Rickard Rakell, just like at the trade deadline, his price is sky high right now. Coming off one of the best years of his career, played on the top line with Sid after, 2 years ago when it looked like he couldn't score a goal if, he looks like he couldn't buy a goal. This past year absolutely was on a tear. Everything was finding twine for him. I could see him, you know, getting a big return in terms of maybe a high draft pick and also a top prospect or two, or at least a very good young NHL ready player. But high price. We'll see if teams meet it or not. I think some Western teams are looking into him. Edmonton, LA, those types of guys. So we'll see if anything comes from that. Also, Josh Yohe for the third straight insider in a row here saying Brian Rust isn't untouchable. I wonder if his price is around the same as Ricard Raquel because he had a damn good year in his own right. So we'll see what happens. Bob McKenzie, or hang on here, the Daily Faceoff, excuse me. They have a list of top 20 offseason trade targets. Erik Karlsson is number one. Let me pull up that list here real quick. Because Erik Karlsson, he's at the top of it. I saw here, and let me find this right here. So, JJ Peterka, excuse me, is number one. Chris Kreider, number two. Erik Karlsson, he is on this list in the top 20 of the Penguins. Where's he at here? Yeah, Erik Karlsson is there. So he's in the top 20, most likely going to get traded. Also, I think Ricard Raquel, he is on, I think it might be TSN's list at 22 in terms of top trade targets. I think he'd be, if the Penguins were explicitly, going to for sure get rid of him, he'd be higher. But because they have a high, price right now, he's not up higher. So, yeah, it's going to be fun next couple of days here for the Pens. I think something is coming soon. We already had the first, big trade. We had a couple, minor trades over the past week, but we had the first big trade today. A team in their division, their worst rival, the Flyers, they got better today somewhat. Trevor Zegras from the Anaheim Ducks, he got traded there for former Penguin Ryan Poehling, a second-round pick this year and a fourth-round pick next year. So that is a decent trade for the Flyers. Zegras hasn't, flashed any, truly elite potential over the past couple of years. But, hey, he's in Anaheim, which has become one of hockey's versions of hell over the past couple of years. So we'll see. I think something's going to be coming here soon for the Pens. It's just looking that way. You're going to see them get worse before they get better. And we'll see what happens here. Maybe we get a big draft trade here. The draft does begin here Friday. Going to talk about that as well real quick. The Penguins, not sure if their social media team is tied in with what, Kyle Dubas and the front office is thinking. But if you follow the Penguins social media accounts, they have been posting videos from the scouting combine of various prospects that are coming in this year's draft. They started these, I believe, on Friday. They posted, short little 1 minute long videos on top prospects: Anton Frondell, Victor Eklund, two Swedes right there who I've said on here before. Kyle Dubas, I think, thinks highly of both of those young kids. Also, Keishon Aitchison and Justin Carbonneau. Those are two other prospects. Just looking here at TSN's top prospect rankings, Frondell, number 4, which he might not make it there. There's a, thing here from Elliot Friedman, he's thinking Anton Frondell could go number 2 in the draft. So the Penguins, they might not get him. I like him a lot. We'll see if anything comes of that. San Jose currently holds the number 2 overall pick. So Anton Frondell is on this list. He's the number 4 prospect. Also, you have Victor Eklund, who's number 10. Kayshawn Aitchison is 13th, and Justin Carbonneau is number 16th on here. Didn't know much about Carbonneau until I saw that video, so we'll see other prospects on this list that the Penguins could be in the market for, depending on how far they fall, and if the Pens trade up. Michael Misa, Porter Martone, I think he's the top guy that the Penguins would like to get, but they'd have to trade up quite a ways to get him. Radim Murka, Roger McQueen, James Higgins, Jake O'Brien. We'll see. Lots of handful of good prospects, and the Pens, they have said that they are looking to move up. We've heard some teams that are apparently maybe looking to move back. I think the Chicago Blackhawks at number 3, the Utah Mammoth, they're listening on their 4th overall pick. And also, I believe there was another team. Maybe it was the Predators. I want to say they pick 8th. I'm not sure. We'll see. Penguins currently picking 11th. Still a couple of days here until the draft. It'll be interesting to see what they're thinking, if they're going to trade up, if they're going to stick and pick. Who knows? Maybe they even could trade out if a team, likes a guy enough to where they send them a top pick the Penguins way, or a good draft pick and a good NHL ready young prospect. Who knows? Also, it is worth noting here, we are now about 48 hours away before we find out if the Penguins will have 2 first-round picks instead of 1. Frank Saravalli posted earlier today that the New York Rangers, they have to formally decide by Wednesday evening whether they will keep their 12th overall pick or whether they will give it to the Penguins and give the Penguins instead their first-round pick next year unconditionally. The Penguins acquired the Rangers' first-round pick with some conditions this year in the Marcus Pettersson trade to Vancouver. So let's see. Frank Saravalli also posting, under that, the debate about this number 12 overall pick. Do the Rangers make the pick now and, let the Penguins get their 2026 pick next year, in which that could, depending on how the Rangers season goes, could give the Penguins 2 opportunities, 2 balls in the lottery for Gavin McKenna next year? Or do they just, say, hey, we think the Rangers, we think we're going to be good enough next year where we're not going to be picking this high again. Let's just give them our 12th overall pick now. Or, I guess you could say the Rangers are kind of, reshuffling their deck chairs. They're not rebuilding, but they're not, pushing all in either. So, we'll see. My opinion, what I want them to do, keep your 12th overall pick. Because I think Mike Sullivan, as your head coach, it's either going to be really good, it's going to be really bad. Either way, if we get your first round pick next year, let's say we're, up there near the top 5, top 3. If we have an extra first round pick that year to dangle around, we could, package that and more for Gavin McKenna to trade up if we don't get the first overall pick. Or if you, like I said, have Mike Sullivan, you flame out, that'll give us 2 shots at McKenna in the lottery. So let's hope, at least I want it, the Rangers keep their pick and that they can suck next year. And we have 2 first-round picks in 2026. Going to do a quick stroll here through Twitter, see if we have anything new popping off. Going to get into the more Pittsburgh news segment coming up here in a moment. As soon as I, click, back onto the old X feed here, I see from Skeens News, good account on X, Bucco's currently 31-48 in year 2 of having Paul Skeens. Absolutely ridiculous. Elliot Friedman, one of those prospects who I said the Penguins could be interested in, James Higgins. Elliot Friedman saying that the Philadelphia Flyers at number 6, they're thinking about taking Higgins. could incentivize the Penguins to maybe trade up with the Blackhawks or Utah Mammoth, who are dangling their picks out there. Could intrigue the Penguins enough, could force them to maybe move up ahead of them if they like Higgins enough. Keep him away from the Flyers. Looking else here, not seeing anything too new other than what I have saved here to talk about today. All right, let's get into that right now. Let's talk some more Pittsburgh sports news, ladies and gentlemen. 5 of you in here. Welcome to the broadcast here tonight. If you are new, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Also, feel free to like and share this video and comment in the live comment section, just like Craig did earlier. Get any thoughts, opinions, questions that you may have in there. I can interact with you that way. I appreciate it. Gained 1 new subscriber over the weekend. We are up to 409 subscribers. Thank you to you, great person who did so. I cannot, unfortunately, I cannot see who it is exactly that subscribed, but I thank you very, very much. Talking about some more Pittsburgh sports news. We haven't talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers yet. We are now 47 minutes into the broadcast here today and barely have talked about the Steelers at all other than Craig's question. But that's going to change right now. Some exciting television will be coming tomorrow. Aaron Rodgers, as announced by Pat McAfee, will be on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow. Usually he's on in the 1 o'clock hour at some point, maybe because, slow time now in sports. NBA just wrapped up. The NFL is, off on vacation right now until training camp begins. Pretty much all we're left to talk about is baseball, other than, the NHL draft and that and free agency coming up. So Rodgers, he might be coming on sooner, but Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow. I'm sure we will all be tuning in to see what he has to say. Speaking of Rodgers, lots of people were bringing up Deshaun Elliott after Rodgers signed with the Steelers. Elliott has had some strong words for Rodgers in the past when Deshaun was a part of the Baltimore Ravens. He said that he didn't like Rodgers for not respecting their team. Also, when rumors first began months ago about Rodgers possibly signing with the Steelers, Elliott dropped, I guess you would call it now, a joking comment on an Instagram post saying to leave Rodgers' old ass in the retirement home. But looks like everything is all good. Elliott, he posted to X on Friday night, A-Rod is the homie, Mashallah. So Mashallah, didn't know what that word meant. I looked it up. Apparently it's something Arabic, meaning, we're greatly disagreeing or denying something that's been said in the past, something like that. I don't know exactly. I didn't do too deep of a dive on the 80 different ways that word can be interpreted. But hey, seems like Deshaun Elliott's all squared away with Aaron Rodgers. There was actually, also a pick from them. Not sure when it was, but I think it was when Aaron Rodgers was rehabbing from his Achilles tear. Him and Deshaun Elliott had a photo back before I think either of them were with the Steelers. So not going to look into any animosity between Rodgers or, any of the main contributors on the Steelers team this upcoming year. Moving from one defensive back here to another, talking about Jalen Ramsey here. We talked about it for a majority of last week. Jalen Ramsey, he's available for a trade, apparently, from the Miami Dolphins. He wants out. Lots of Steelers fans are saying, go get Jalen Ramsey. You just saw Jair Alexander sign with the Baltimore Ravens. Your secondary, even though it's a bit stronger, it's still a bit of a question. Go out and get arguably a top 5 corner in the NFL in Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey, he's been playing it up following a handful of Steelers players. Also liking a post from the NFL, I believe, on the Steelers But now Jalen Ramsey, he has followed the Cleveland Browns as well. So hopefully he does not go there. It would pain me to see two of the top corners available this offseason go to two division rivals. Also, the Browns, I don't understand why they would go get Jalen Ramsey. I understand, I know they have Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, Greg Newsome as well. Not sure if they're making one of those guys available for a trade, but bringing in Jalen Ramsey, that would be, adding more to a strength than even what the Ravens did, getting Jair Alexander. So hopefully Ramsey following the Browns. Maybe it's a sign, hey, I'm coming to the Steelers. Might as well follow one of their division rivals, get to know them a little bit better. Who knows? Hopefully he does not go to the Browns. Omar Khan, do your magic. Bring Jalen Ramsey to the Steelers. Moving into the politics world for a hot second, which, boy, what the hell? That's a hell of a world to be in right now, the politics world. Governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, he says that there will not be any help in getting a new stadium for the Steelers if they seek one after 2030. The Steelers, their lease for Acrisure Stadium expires in 2030, and Shapiro says that there will be no state funding available to the Steelers, or as a matter of fact, to the Philadelphia Eagles as well, if they plan on getting new stadiums within the next, after the next 5 years. So that came out today. Alan Saunders from Pittsburgh Steelers Now posted that bit of news. Felt a little bit relevant. Looks like the Rooneys, they'll be on their own to build a new stadium if they feel like it after 2030 when their lease for Acrisure Stadium expires, which, Acrisure Stadium, still pretty good stadium. I don't see how they could tear that down right now. If you were to tear it down, where the hell will you build a new stadium? Could you build one on top of Acrisure Stadium? No, because then the Steelers would be out without a home there for a season. But you'd be risking moving the team out of, downtown Pittsburgh altogether, which honestly, that's kind of one of my favorite things about Acrisure Stadium. Same thing with PNC Park. You're right there on the outskirts, literally just outside of downtown. You get a beautiful scene of Pittsburgh's absolutely gorgeous skyline. Don't see any reason why the Steelers would want to move out of Acrisure Stadium after these next 5 years. Last thing here on some Steelers news relating to the Steelers. The condolences are in order for Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. My condolences on behalf of the Steel City Sports Report go to the Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, his father, Fred Smith, who is also the founder of FedEx. He passed away over the weekend at 80 years old. Absolutely sucks to hear that. Hope Arthur is doing all right in his grieving process of his deceased father. Also, sounds like was one hell of a dude to be around. The Pat McAfee show, they talked about him quite a bit when, I was watching them super intently. Also, I have no idea. I think this was from the article that Adam Schefter posted on the passing of Fred Smith. This is absolutely a legendary, piece of his story right here. In the early days of FedEx, Fred Smith had to go to great lengths to keep the company afloat. In one instance, after a crucial business loan was denied, he took the company's last $5,000 to Las Vegas and won $27,000 gambling on blackjack to cover the company's $24,000 fuel bill. It kept FedEx alive for one more week, and now FedEx, one of the best companies in the world delivery-wise. So RIP to Fred Smith, and condolences to Arthur Smith and the rest of the Smith family in their time of grieving. Also, talking about Fred Smith here, talking about Arthur Smith, and, say what you want about him as an offensive coordinator and, whatever success he's had as a coordinator and a head coach in his career. You cannot deny the absolute love and dedication to football that Arthur Smith has, because Fred Smith, his dad is the founder of FedEx. He could have, Arthur Smith, he could have, gotten a cubicle job in FedEx headquarters where he either does the bare minimum or does nothing and gets paid for it, and, just kicks his feet up on beaches and yachts for his whole life. Instead, he wanted to get into football and play football and coach football, doing what he loves and making money his own way. So respect to Arthur Smith for that, and RIP to his father. Condolences to Smith and his family. Getting back into hockey here for a hot moment. The Penguins, late last week, they finished filling out their coaching staff. Dan Muse, of course, their head coach. We learned earlier in the week about Nick Bonino becoming Dan Muse's first assistant coach. After that, Friday, we learned that Todd Nelson and Rich Clune, they would be the other two assistant coaches for Dan Muse. Also, there was a new assistant video coach hired as well. Todd Nelson, he was the headliner of Friday's coaching hires, was a head coach for the AHL's Hershey Bears, the minor league affiliate for the Washington Capitals. He won over 140 games in 3 seasons with the Hershey Bears and was a back-to-back Calder Cup winning coach. He delivered a statement, or the Hershey Bears, I would say, posted a statement from Nelson on Friday thanking the organization for his time there and his success as head coach there. His quote here: "It was an absolute pleasure to be the head coach of the Hershey Bears, and leaving my post with the organization was an extremely difficult decision. What we accomplished over the past 3 years was truly special, and being part of this historic franchise was the honor of a lifetime, etc., etc. I'm excited to join the Penguins and take the next step in my career, but Hershey will always hold a special place in my heart." Great stuff there from Todd Nelson. And after having so much success with possibly the best team in the AHL that the AHL has seen over the past half decade, great now that the Penguins, in a time of transition, bringing in younger players that need development. One of the best developmental coaches in the AHL, and Todd Nelson, now joining the staff. Glad to have him on board here in Pittsburgh. We talked about, continuing with some Penguins news here, we talked about the Penguins, seemingly everybody's going out the door. Carlson, Raquel, Russ, all those guys. All we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks is the Penguins getting rid of people. How about possibly bringing back someone? Elliot Friedman on Saturday, I believe this was, he reported that the New Jersey Devils, they are not expected to qualify an offer to forward Cody Glass. That will make Cody Glass an unrestricted free agent. He will hit the free agent market. So Cody Glass was traded from the Penguins to the Devils, I believe, for a 4th-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. Also, there was, I think a minor league swapping of players in that deal. But Cody Glass, an unrestricted free agent. He was a guy who last year didn't set the world on fire like Russ or Raquel, but he played pretty well in, a tweener between the second and third line. I'd bring him back, honestly. He's still, I think, pretty young. He's, 26, 27 years old. You're still, you're not going to have a bunch of 30-plus-year-olds in, Sid and Gino and Letang, and then have just a bunch of, 23-year-olds, just kids. You need to have, some middle-of-the-ground guys, too. I think Cody Glass would be a hell of a guy to bring back. He played well here. I honestly, was a bit shocked when we traded him at last year's deadline. I thought he was going to be one of those guys where the Pens maybe look to extend on a 2-year deal after last year, but instead they traded him. Now the opportunity is presenting itself here to where he can be brought back. I would be all aboard bringing him back. He'd be a good middle of the road guy between, the elder statesmen and the young guys that are going to be playing in their first and second years in the NHL next year. Some other Penguins news here. Developmental camp, prospect developmental camp for the Pens. That's always, you always get a tiny bit of news out of that. You see, some young guys like some AHL guys and some guys that the Pens drafted show up at this thing. That will now take place from July 3rd through the 7th, prospect developmental camp at the UPMC Lemieux Sports Complex in Cranberry. All practices, including the end of camp tournament, will be open to the public and free of charge. So if you are around the Pittsburgh area, I encourage you, go out to the developmental camp. I'm sure you will see a lot of what the Penguins' future will look like. I would think, I don't know. I wonder if Rucker McGroarty and Ville Koivunen, two guys who are for sure going to be on the Penguins next year, I wonder if they'll be at this thing. At the very least, you will see whoever the Pens draft here on Friday and this weekend. You'll also see some other good prospects for the Pens. Harrison Brunick, Emil Pieniemi, Tristan Brose, maybe Tanner Howell. You'll see some guys like that get on the ice on July 3rd through the 7th. So go out, see the developmental camp if you feel like it. I know there will be some videos, and also the Pens, they might have some live streams, at least of the end of camp tournament available on their website. So go check that out. Final thing here related to the Pens, Brad Marchand absolutely trolling every single team in the NHL. Of course, Florida Panthers just winning the Stanley Cup. Brad Marchand, I'm pretty sure he's still drunk right now. It seems like every member of that Florida Panthers team has been hardcore partying for the past, 4 days now. But Marchand, he went on Instagram and trolled almost every single NHL franchise, adding them in his Instagram story, taking pictures of members of the Florida Panthers team and adding the teams that had the player previously, saying thank you to them. Penguins were included in that. Evan Rodriguez, Erod, love that guy. Glad that he got another cup down there in Florida. Marchand adding the Penguins there, saying thank you to them for Rodriguez making his way to South Florida. Moving into some Pittsburgh Pirates news here. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, we now know more about the altercation between Dennis Santana and a fan in Detroit that happened on Thursday during Game 2 of the doubleheader. For those of you who do not know what happened, Bucks Tigers Game 2 of their doubleheader. Dennis Santana apparently was getting ready to go in and pitch, and out in the bullpen, a fan, I think it was a fan who was wearing a Pirates shirt or a Pirate jersey, but a Detroit Tigers hat. Either way, whether it was him or someone else, a fan was heckling Dennis Santana. That then got the attention of Santana and also a security officer that was in the bullpen. The security officer looking up at the fan as the fan was heckling. Santana, immediately hot, goes over at the fan, starts yelling at him, and then eventually jumps up and takes a slap attempt, at the fan. Santana then ended up needing to be held back by one of the bullpen coaches. After that altercation, Santana went in and pitched, did quite well, and then after the game said to the media, sorry guys, you know me, I'm a tempered guy. From what I've seen from listening to what other beat writers for the Pirates have said, Santana, one of the nicest dudes, in that clubhouse, doesn't get hot often, but Santana said that fan did cross a couple of lines, which, led to him taking a swipe at the fan. We now know more about what happened. Dan Zangrilli, who covers the Pirates for 93.7 The Fan, probably one of my favorite guys to listen to about, what is going on with the Bucks. He went on 93.7 The Fan this afternoon and gave more detail as to what happened that caused that reaction from Santana. And this is absolutely disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. Zangrilli said that what set Dennis Santana off, apparently the fan was throwing peanuts at Santana, which, not allowed, pretty, rude and idiotic in that sense. But, maybe, throwing peanuts at him, maybe you can, sort of cage your feelings on that. Maybe not. But after that, I agree with Santana. Go after that dude. Honestly, if he would have climbed into the stands and actually slapped the dude, probably would have been okay with it. Apparently, that fan made some racial comments. Santana, of course, from the Dominican Republic, that area of the world. I'm not sure exactly what country he's from, but it's some where down in that area. So racial taunts, not sure if it was racial slurs or not, were thrown his way. And probably the thing that set him off the most, the fan made a couple of rude comments about Santana's recently deceased father. I'm sorry. Peanuts and racial slurs, those are one thing. Probably, will get under a guy's skin and warrant, you getting yelled back at. Once you bring up deceased family members, gloves are off at that point. So that is, now we know what happened in that situation. Now everybody was speculating for, over the weekend what exactly went down there. All Santana said was he crossed a couple of lines and left it at that. But now we know peanuts being thrown, racial things being said, and assumingly mocking the dead father of Dennis Santana. That is what got Santana to react that way. Am I not going? I want to be clear here. I am absolutely disgusted by what that fan said. However, I am also not condoning, Santana trying to inflict, personal harm on the fan. Does the fan probably deserve it? Yeah, but Santana, doing it, I'm going to condone it, but I understand it. So that was what was said there. Santana, on Saturday, it was revealed he got a 4-game suspension for that situation, taking the swipe at the fan. He has since appealed it. He actually pitched in yesterday's ball game, so he's allowed to still play for the team while the suspension is in appeal. I at least hope that this new information that of what that fan, said and did, I hope that the MLB takes that into consideration. A 4-game suspension, rarely do you see, first off, I was shocked that it was 4 games. Maybe, I thought he'd get 2, maybe 3, but 4 games, I thought it was maybe a lot, but, I'm not on the MLB conduct board here. So, anyways, what I was saying is, you rarely see a 4-game suspension just completely wiped off the books. But with that bit of information, I hope that the MLB or whoever is making the decisions behind his suspension, they'll at least rescind it to a game, at most 2 games. Because if I'm in that room for, reaching a verdict on Santana's suspension, if I'm in that room, whoever's making the decision there, I can ask each and every single member of that board, hey, if you had peanuts thrown at you, if you were being racially taunted, and if your dead dad was, being brought up, you'd probably swing at him too, if not more. So that is the latest in the Dennis Santana situation. Swinging at a fan, he has been suspended 4 games, but it is currently in appeal. Not sure how long the appeal process takes, but if there is any new news, then on the channel here we will bring it up. Moving on here with some more Pittsburgh Pirate news. Tommy Pham, we talked about a little bit, reviewing what the Bucks did this weekend. 3 for 3 in yesterday's ball game in the Bucks 8-3 win over the Texas Rangers, taking one of 3 in the series from them. Actually, damn good with the bat. He actually barreled up a ball where it was hard contact. I believe it was a line drive out to center field. Might have been that double he had. But he looked, dare I say, worthy of $4 million if he would to play like that, the entire year now. So Tommy Pham barreling up the baseball 3 for 3. Now we know why. He spoke after the game. He says that the issues that he has with his vision have played a role in his struggles this year. For those of you who don't know, I believe this was I'm not sure when it was. It might have been 2008. Tommy Pham was diagnosed with keratoconus. I probably absolutely butchered that name of this condition here. Anyways, it causes Tommy Pham to have blurry vision, which vision for batters in the MLB, probably the most important thing you need aside from, bat speed and all that. Vision is the end-all be-all for batters for the most part. So after his, 3-hit day, Tommy says that, he believes his struggles at the plate in 2025 have been in large part due to his vision and the lack of perfect contact lenses. He says that he's been continually trying to find the right contact lenses, and that also I think he said something that his prescription that he's been taking to help with this, he's been taking the wrong dosage. So hopefully this is him figuring it out. His quotes exactly after the game: I don't think it's really mechanical. I think it was all visual for me. My prescription's been off, so I've been adjusting on the fly. I'm telling you guys, it's all visual. My contact situation has been a little complicated. We're headed in the right direction finally. I've been making changes weekly. I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm pretty optimistic going forward, so I should get that first homer, hopefully. That from Tommy Pham after yesterday's game. Glad to hear that, hopefully things are turning around for him, that hopefully he's figured out the right, situation with his eyes and whatnot. So hopefully we see him hitting more consistently. However, I will say I'm trying not to, be the Debbie Downer here, be down on a situation with good news, but doesn't change the fact that Pham has been absolutely brutal this year and should still be DFA'd. But hey, if he's figured it out, if he starts hitting a little bit better, there's some teams out there, they need a left fielder. Maybe instead of just DFAing him and eating his salary for the rest of the year, Ben Cherington might actually get what he wants, and he can sell off Tommy Pham to a contender for a lottery ticket prospect. But that's the situation with Tommy Pham. Might have figured out something with his eyes, his contacts, prescriptions, what all he is taking to get better. Glad for him. Hopefully this will continue him being better at the plate moving forward. On Friday, we talked about for a hot second, this is the final news story here. The Bucks, they signed a prospect, Cuban pitcher Royland Portuondo, 26 years old. He signed with the Bucks in their international free agency market on Friday. He will be assigned, or he is expected to be assigned to Double-A Altoona, according to Francis Romero. He is probably the best to follow on these, foreign signings in the MLB. Portuondo's deal, we now know, is officially signed and has a bonus at signing for $10,000. So welcome officially to the Bucks organization. Royland Portuondo again features a mid to high 90s fastball, also some other off-speed pitches as well that are pretty good. We will see where he will start out in his journey to hopefully reaching the big leagues. Wouldn't mind us seeing him in Altoona. Maybe I go catch a game, watch him, and hopefully here soon Connor Griffin. Going to take one last stroll here through social media, see if there is anything new going on here today before we log off for the evening. We are now a little under an hour away from first pitch between the Bucks and Brewers, game 1 of a 3-game set. Seeing tons of photos here from the parade today for the Florida Panthers. Also, I know that it is not related to any of the 3 major sports teams in Pittsburgh, the Penguins, the Steelers, or the Pirates, but as much as I want to say my sympathies to this man, but I also want to say congratulations, TJ McConnell, Pittsburgh native, born and raised. He and the Indiana Pacers, they unfortunately lost in Game 7 of the NBA Finals last night. However, McConnell, Pittsburgh kid, played extremely well in relief. Of course, Pacers star Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles early in last night's game. So McConnell, he played early and often, was one of, if not the Pacers' best players last night, and he really opened up a lot of eyes throughout the playoff run with the Pacers. So congratulations to TJ McConnell on all of his success with the Pacers this season. Looking here, seeing if there is anything new news-wise going on. Seeing more on Trevor Zegras to the Philadelphia Flyers. He will wear number 46 for the Flyers. Again, I think it's a decent move for the Flyers, but it's not something that I think should keep the Penguins up at night. Flyers, they'll still find a way to, be the Flyers and fall apart. Zegras, after having a pretty good rookie year for the Ducks, he's been pretty unheard of over the past 2 years. So maybe he'll unlock something there in Philadelphia. Maybe he won't. We'll find out. Not too worried about the Penguins' chances against the Flyers. Right now, I still would take the Pens to, maybe win 3 out of their 4 games that they play against the Flyers every year, even if the Flyers are trying to, buy and get better. And even while the Pens are in the middle of a rebuild, I'll still take the Pens' chances against Philly. All right, I am not seeing too much more here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me here on this Monday night on stream for an hour and 20 minutes now. Had a lot to talk about that happened over the weekend. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very, very much. We will be back here about the same time tomorrow, somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock like normal. Talk about some more news, whatever happens to come up within the next 24 hours. Until then, for the final time, thank you all for joining me. subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Also, like, share, and comment on this live stream. And also, going to keep reiterating this, check out the new Instagram page for the channel. Same username right there as on X and YouTube at Still City SR. So go check that out. I am, putting stuff on the story of the channel and leaving comments on certain things. So go check that out, and that'll do it for today. Thank you very much. Let's go watch the Bucks. Watch them probably lose, I don't know, 2-1, 3-2 in 2 out of 3 games in this series against the Brewers. Maybe they luck into a win along the way. Thank you all for joining me here tonight. I will see you back here tomorrow for some more Pittsburgh sports news. Have a great Monday night, everyone. Stay cool. See you back here tomorrow night. Peace.